I don't care, he growled, slamming the bedroom door like a toddler denied dessert. And with that, my husband, the man who once knelt with tears and a promise to protect me, vanished into sleep while I sat silently, nursing our newborn on the edge of a borrowed couch in my own apartment. Hi, I'm Leona Hart, and this isn't some melodramatic breakup rant. It's the story of how the people closest to me mistook my silence for submission. Earlier that day, my mother had barged into our apartment like a storm in heels. "You won't be living off me anymore," she announced coldly, sweeping past the baby crib like it didn't exist. Then my husband chimed in, smug, rehearsed, proud. "I gave her all my cards and cash for safekeeping," he said, like he was donating to charity. That her was my mother, the same woman who once told me childbirth was a choice, not a job. They'd made a plan, and I wasn't part of it. No bank card, no cash, no say. But what they didn't know was, I'd made a plan too. And by sunrise, everything would be in motion. Because they were right about one thing. I wouldn't be living off them anymore. I didn't sleep that night. Not from worry, from clarity. While my husband snored in our bed and my mother raided my fridge like she owned it, I sat in the baby's room, rocking him gently while scrolling through documents on my old laptop. You see, 3 years ago, before love made me soft, I'd run a small marketing agency from this very apartment. My clients? Boutique brands, small cafes, a few influencers. Nothing huge, but enough to build quiet savings. Savings they didn't know about. Savings in my name. Savings not stored in banks, but in cryptocurrency and offline backups. Before marrying Noah, I froze those accounts. Because something in me, something ancestral and feminine, didn't trust the fairy tale. While my baby slept, I activated the transfers, rented a storage unit, scheduled a moving van, called a lawyer friend, and asked her to check my apartment lease, still legally mine. By 4:45 a.m., I packed essentials in labeled boxes. By 6 a.m., I breastfed my son one final time in this version of our life. And by 7 o'clock, I was ready. I wasn't just leaving. I was erasing myself from their twisted little setup and watching how fast they crumbled without their quiet servant. At 7:15 a.m., I woke Noah with the gentlest voice I could manage. "We need to talk." Groggy and annoyed, he sat up and muttered, "About what now?" I didn't argue, just handed him an envelope. Inside was a printed statement. Every transfer, every hidden asset, the lease in my name, and a note that simply read, "This apartment is mine." The money was mine. The silence was temporary. He laughed. Actually laughed. "Leona, come on. You've been on maternity leave. You haven't made a dime in months." I pointed to the front door. Right on cue, the movers buzzed. 2 men, swift and professional, began taking out labeled boxes. His laughter stopped. "You're bluffing." I walked past him and opened the kitchen drawer. His wallet? Empty. The joint account? Closed. The credit cards? Already reported. Noah scrambled for his phone. I'd wiped it clean the night before and reset it. The only contact left? Mine. "I didn't want this," I said quietly, "but you made it easy." Then came the real panic, not because I was leaving, but because he realized he had nothing without me. And I hadn't screamed. I hadn't thrown plates. I'd just disappeared. By noon, my mother would be next. My mother didn't knock. She stormed in, face flushed, hair still in salon rollers, holding a grocery bag like a badge of power. "I'm making lamb tonight, so clear the kitchen." "And where's Noah? He said you were being dramatic." I didn't answer. Instead, I slid the lease across the dining table. "Mom, you're trespassing. I gave you 3 months of kindness, and you mistook it for permission." She blinked, laughed, then saw the legal stamp on the document. "You think this little paper scares me? I've fed you since you were born." "No," I said calmly. "You fed your pride. You humiliated me in my own home, told me I was lazy while I healed from childbirth, took money from my husband behind my back, and now you're mad the well ran dry." She dropped the bag. Potatoes rolled across the floor. You ungrateful brat. I gave you everything. No. I cut in. You took everything. And now I'm reclaiming it. She raised her hand to slap me. But just then, the building manager walked in, flanked by security. Ma'am, he said, you've been served. Please collect your things and vacate the premises. The way her face drained, it wasn't anger. It was shock. She'd lost control, and I hadn't even raised my voice. She didn't go quietly. My mother wailed like a wounded queen, clutching walls, hurling curses, and calling me every name but daughter. The neighbors peeked through their doors, some amused, others whispering. But I didn't flinch, because behind me, wrapped in a soft gray blanket, my baby slept in his bassinet. And that was all I cared about now, peace for him and peace for me. Once she was gone, I sat on the floor, staring at the silence. It felt strange at first. No footsteps. No judgment. No one demanding I cook, clean, sacrifice. Just stillness. Then my phone buzzed. It was Noah. A text. Come on, Leona. We're family. You made your point. Just come back. 2 minutes later, another. I told my boss we'd still hit the deadline. How am I supposed to finish the pitch alone? And then, you're ruining everything. That last one made me smile. Because he finally understood. I was never part of their everything. I was the foundation, and now they were free-falling without me. But I wasn't done yet. There was one more stop I needed to make. One more betrayal I hadn't addressed. And it lived in the form of my smug, golden child sister. My sister, Camila, always wore success like perfume, strong, artificial, and meant to cover up rot. She lived in a glassy condo downtown, paid for by our parents' early inheritance money they said I would just waste on diapers. She never visited me after the baby, never asked how I was healing, but she did post #blessed under my hospital photo, the one Mom had taken without my permission. So I arrived at her building unannounced. She opened the door, already irritated. Ugh, did Mom send you? I didn't even step inside. I'm not here to argue. Just returning something you left behind. I handed her a small flash drive. She stared. What is this? Proof. That you've been billing your clients under my business license for the past year. Her face paled. I looked into the back end, Camila. You didn't even change the password. She tried to play it off, laughed, scoffed, blamed me for being too emotional after birth. But when I told her I'd already contacted 3 of her highest-paying clients and sent them her invoices from my registered company, her smile snapped in half. She slammed the door in my face. But I'd left a louder message. I'm not your shadow. I'm your reckoning. And the world was finally listening. The fallout hit like clockwork. 3 days later, Camila's name vanished from 2 major brand campaigns, replaced by a public statement citing fraudulent credentials. She blamed me, of course. Told the family I'd ruined her future over hormones. But I didn't respond. I didn't have to, because silence was louder. Mom started calling next. Dozens of missed calls, voicemails switching between threats and sobs. Noah tried too. Let's be adults. Let's fix this. You've made your little point. I listened to the last voicemail while holding my baby against my chest. He had started cooing again, a sound that hadn't filled our apartment in weeks. That was my answer. I didn't need to scream to win. I didn't need to beg to be heard. I just needed to remove myself from their circus and let it collapse without a ringmaster. The last text I ever replied to was from Dad. It said, "You've always been dramatic. Just remember, we're still family." I simply replied, "That's what I remembered. And that's why I left." Then I blocked the entire group chat. But before I closed that chapter, I had one final envelope to drop off, one that would burn quietly, but leave permanent scars. I sent one envelope. No words, no return address. Inside was a single photocopy, the hospital billing records, itemized, highlighted, showing that during my delivery, the account tied to my insurance, the one Camila had secretly linked to her luxury spa treatments, had been flagged for fraud. It was all there. the facials, the postpartum retreat she'd billed as my medical recovery, and the signature she forged under my name. I sent it to her job's HR department, to their legal team, to the state board. Within a week, she was under investigation for insurance fraud. And no, I didn't feel guilty, because the woman who told me I was too hormonal to think clearly had signed her own downfall with the same pen she used to erase me. I moved 2 weeks later. Quietly. No forwarding address. No one never showed up. Mom sent one last message. "We raised you better than this." I smiled at that, because the truth was they raised me to survive them, to spot manipulation in a smile, to recognize theft wrapped in love, to endure until I could escape, and then rewrite the script. This time, I wasn't the daughter, the sister.